It appeared to have been spotted on July 1st, like a typical fast-moving interstellar object, a streak with a glowing coma traveling at almost 87 kilometers per second relative to the Sun. This speed could cover the Earth-Moon distance in less than 80 minutes. However, scientists were astonished not by its speed, but by its behavior. Common comets slow down, fragment, or stabilize upon entering the inner solar system. This one began gaining speed, gradually but consistently. Its trajectory tightened with measurable course corrections. Its coma doubled in brightness within weeks, while spectral analysis revealed unprecedented spikes in ultraviolet light and emissions of carbon dioxide. More like a guided missile than a chunk of frozen debris, this comet was behaving unnaturally. Then, Webb's deep-field sensors detected something transformative, rhythmic pulses coming from its tail. Instead of erratic jets caused by sunlight melting ice, these were intentional thrusts occurring flawlessly in 17-minute segments. A definite pattern, a signal, a maneuver. As NASA's JET, Gemini South, and Webb Propulsion Laboratory monitored the object, the data told a chilling story. What was anticipated to be a close call morphed into a far greater threat. Simulations predicted an impact distance of only 1.95 million kilometers from Mars, a mere whisper in cosmic terms. A slight increase in velocity, a minuscule amount of what is currently measured in gas pulses, could lead to a direct collision. Mars could become ground zero with just a push and a nudge. This level of control is unheard of among natural celestial bodies. It appears 3I Atlas is using its own gas emissions in the form of tiny thrusters, adjusting its course like a spacecraft. Alarmingly, these thrusts align perfectly with the plane of Mars' orbit. Researchers are now more than just tracking an object, they are witnessing it aim. From September 19th to 30th, each individual outburst could alter its trajectory. It's not just amateur theorists or sci-fi buffs raising concerns anymore. Avi Loeb, a Harvard astrophysicist, and his team proposed a bold hypothesis. 3I Atlas might be an engineered probe. Radar readings from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter and Goldstone antennas showed metallic echoes unlike the typical murky signatures associated with comets. Insiders at NASA described these radar reflections as unprecedented. Adding to the intrigue were streams, green, needle-like filaments and high-exposure images, 3 glowing beams converging toward Mars, synchronizing with the jets of exhaust. The evidence is compelling. This object isn't acting naturally. Loeb proposes a scenario in which 3I Atlas could be intentionally targeting Mars, either to crash or, even worse, to deliver something: spores, signals, probes. Whatever its purpose, it appears planned. Mars is being approached with surgical precision, and humanity watches a complex operation unfold before us, largely beyond our comprehension. Should a collision occur, the results would be catastrophic. With an estimated mass of 10 billion tons and a relative speed of 57 kilometers per second, the impact on Mars would produce more than 2 million megatons of energy, thousands of times more than the most potent nuclear explosion. The crater would measure 60 kilometers wide and 5 kilometers deep, dispersing debris all over Mars' orbit with the possibility of sending some of it into interplanetary space, possibly reaching Earth. Then there was silence. NASA ceased issuing updates. Telemetry feeds from Perseverance and TN11 showed unexplained gaps. Inquiries regarding potential scenarios were met with evasions. There had been a shift. A secret message leaked by a whistleblower contained the phrase, "Impact Protocol Initiated." The meaning remains unclear, but insiders suggest Earth-based stations sent encrypted signals to all functioning equipment on Mars. This raises questions. Nothing is known about any technique for avoiding 3I Atlas, unless these signals were designed not to safeguard Mars, but to prepare it. If 3I Atlas is an intelligent system, even partially autonomous, it might be responding to orbital energy signatures, beacons, or encoded pulses. If Earth activated those systems, it raises the possibility that we've confirmed we are listening. Even worse, we might have acknowledged a response which hints that any intelligence behind this object is now conscious of our presence. A group of cryptologists at the Say Institute considered an unorthodox approach. They took the current course closest approach time, velocity, and gravitational factors, information gathered by every astronomer, and translated it into binary. They then applied standard compression algorithms used in deep space communication. With attention fixed on the potential impact date, an even more unsettling pattern arose. The trajectories closest approaches to Mars, the Sun, and Earth coincided with dates of resonance. Key orbital harmonics, important to ancient societies. September 23rd. Road. October 5th. November 11th. The last event similar to the present alignment was the Tunguska incident of 1908. For decades, astronomers believed that the sky above them was predictable. Every comet, every asteroid, every interstellar wanderer followed the same silent laws of gravity. But then came an object unlike anything we had seen before. It moved too fast, shone too brightly, and whispered patterns into the void. At first, it was dismissed as just another cosmic rock, an interstellar visitor destined to pass by, flare in the sun's light, and vanish into the darkness. Yet, piece by piece, observation by observation, the narrative evolved. This wasn't a comet. This wasn't a coincidence. This was choreography. It started with small anomalies. Instead of slowing as it approached, the object in the inner solar system accelerated. Its brilliant tail pulsed at regular intervals, so precise they could be set to a clock. Gas vents burst forth not at random, but in flawless sequences separated by 17 minutes, like an invisible engine firing microthrusters. And each pulse shifted its trajectory ever so slightly, as if guided by intent. Nature wasn't like this. This was navigation. As its path drew closer to Mars, the numbers became impossible to ignore. The distance to the red planet shrank far more rapidly than gravitational models predicted. The object's emissions brightened, its spectrum showing unusual spikes, not just water ice or carbon dioxide frozen in space, but compounds no comet had ever displayed, synthetic polymers, carbon nanotube-like structures, engineered materials adrift in the void. For scientists, the evidence was no longer subtle. There was something alive about this object, even if not in the biological sense. The subsequent layer was stranger and deeper. The pulsations emanating from the tail weren't just mechanical. They were cognitive. A team of neuroscientists discovered that when volunteers were exposed to those precise pulsation frequencies, their brain waves synchronized, not just individually, but collectively across isolated areas. Distance seemed to be ignored by the signal, bypassing noise and connecting minds in unison. It wasn't communication in the way we know it. It was activation. The question shifted from what is it to what is it doing to us? Meanwhile, on Mars, things started to change. Anomalies were discovered by orbiter instruments. A rise in xenon isotopes leaking from deep fissures. Temperatures at the subsurface increased. Weak magnetic pulses appeared in the crust, pulses that precisely matched the object's gas emissions, as if the planet itself was being woken, not threatened. Seismic readings around Olympus men spiked as well. A planned low-frequency sound came from under the largest volcano in the solar system. Not noise, not shaking. A harmonic frequency, a spiral echo of the very waveform emitted by the approaching object. For the first time in history, it seemed a planet was responding to something in space before it even arrived. As astronomers scrambled for answers, archaeologists joined the conversation. Ancient sky maps from Babylonian, Mayan, and Tibetan texts described a celestial flame serpent that curved unnaturally near the sun and aimed for the red world. Depicted in a pre-Incan stone carving with irradiating lines from Mars, matching modern debris dispersion models. Were these myths or memories? Were our ancestors warning us or preparing us? Across cultures, the same pattern appeared: an arrival, a descent, a signal. Not just once in history, but cyclically, as if the object had been here previously. Then something even more troubling surfaced: the alignment. In the final trajectory arc, Mars, Earth, and the Sun formed a perfect straight line exactly at the time the object intersected the axis. This was not accidental. It reflected the alignments encoded in the megalithic structures of Earth: Stonehenge, Nabta Playa, Teotihuacan, structures we once thought were primitive calendars. What if they were never calendars at all? What if they were warnings or invitations built to resonate with this moment? High-resolution scans of the object revealed another thing in the vapor trail: a recurrent nuclear-based strand sequence strikingly resembling RNA. Not life as cells, but life as code, information not intended to survive, but to transmit, to respond when interpreted. A living language drifting across interstellar space, waiting for a listener, possibly waiting for us. As the final hours approached, a pattern emerged on Mars itself. Dust fields shifted, not with wind, but with purpose, forming to concentric ovals, an image of an eye tilted at the same angle as the axial tilt of the Earth. Erosion was not random. It was a message, a mirror reflecting, an eye watching. Mars had blinked. There was no longer an impact in this. It was about convergence. Every beat, every position, every echo pointed in one direction, one conclusion. The object was not here to destroy.